Hello guys, James Sinclair here, and I'm with Carl Reader, who's an accountant, built up quite a sizable accountancy firm. He's now, in his own words, the chairman of said accountancy firm, and it's run under management now. Is that right, Carl?
Oh, we're getting that way. It's a constant battle, but we're getting that way.
Good, and he's wrote 2 books. One's called The Startup Coach.
Correct.
And the other one's called
Franchising Handbook.
Franchising Handbook, which is really where I want to take this conversation. One of the ways to grow your business is borrow money, get outside investment, go through the organic process. So organic process, borrow to grow, debt finance, another one's equity release and stuff like that. But another way successful people have grown their business is through franchising. Just tell us what franchising is.
Yeah, of course. So franchising is often confused by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's very simple at its core. Franchising a business consists of franchising 4 items within a business.
Yeah.
The brand and the systems that everyone thinks about.
Yeah.
There's a third one that they know about and it's obvious, but they don't think of it straight away, which is the agreement between the 2 parties.
Yeah.
And the fourth one is the franchising of the culture.
Yeah.
Okay, the way we do things.
Yeah.
And that's the one that a lot of people leave behind. So a franchising arrangement is between 2 parties.
Yeah.
You know, James, you've built something successful. Somebody else has seen what you've done. They like the burgers that you make. They like the way you serve them up.
Yeah.
Hey, James, can I buy a franchise of what you do and pay you a share of what I earn? So that's franchising at its simplest.
So let's talk about it. So if I want to franchise my business, how do I make money and how does the franchisee make money?
Okay, so first of all, you need to decide if franchising is the right route to scale your business.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's vital because...
Let's pause it. Why would it not be?
Okay, there's quite a few reasons. Not every business is franchisable.
Yeah.
I believe that, first of all, you need to have the capital to be able to franchise properly. Okay? Because whilst it is a way of expanding using other people's time and money, it takes time and money to do it properly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, if your business isn't successful, you can't franchise your way out of difficulty.
Yeah.
Okay, it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The third thing is if you haven't really got a unique hook. If there's nothing to hook your franchisees in, then actually, what value are you offering them versus them going to do it themselves?
Yeah.
Okay, you also need to decide whether it's the right route for you personally. So there are practical reasons why you can't do it.
Yeah.
But also, when we look at scaling a business, you mentioned there's a number of different ways.
Yeah.
I see that for scaling a business, there's 4 fundamental things that you need to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's all underpinned by your vision and where you're going. But you need to think about your financial model, how you're going to fund it. You need to think about your growth model, organic acquisition, franchising, licensing, distribution, and so on. You need to think about your management model. Okay, so how are you going to get your team to manage, and then how are you going to replicate that? And then your leadership model. How are you going to replicate your leadership role as an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Okay, so once you've considered all that and you've worked out that franchising still seems attractive, what do you actually need to do? Because I think that's a question that you asked, wasn't it? I went off on a bit of a tangent. What do you actually need to do? So, first things first, you need to separate out the bit of a business that you're going to franchise.
Yeah.
Now, it might be the whole business, or it might be that, James, you've got a burger shop that's also selling milkshake machines at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And you need to carve that bit out to really focus on the bit that you're franchising.
Yeah.
You separate that out and make sure that it can run in its own way, on its own feet, for a period of a year.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to make sure that it's profitable, that it's win-win, that you get enough as franchisor, if you were to take a cut from the top, to help service the franchisee, and that the franchisee earns enough to make it worth their while doing.
So typically, if I wanted so let's use the burger shop analogy,
Sure.
because I think that might be a famous franchise
Yes.
for most people.
It might be.
So I've got to buy the franchise. What's the? I mean, is there an average amount?
Okay, if you're purchasing a franchise, it really is a case of how long's a piece of string.
Yeah.
You can get franchises. Actually, I'm going to caveat that. I'm going to use the phrase business format franchise.
Yeah.
Because there are business opportunities that call themselves franchises for 500 quid. They're not franchises.
No.
Okay, they're direct selling opportunities.
Yeah. A
business format franchise, generally speaking, about 10 grand, up to 750 grand in terms of commitment. Sometimes you'll buy the rights to a country.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll buy the rights to one side of the street.
So really, that upfront fee doesn't give you anything other than rights to an area.
It depends on the franchise. So the license, it's made up of a license, which is your license to trade, your license to use the brand, the license to use the operations manual. But it also, you then on top of that, you will have things like initial stock. They might include things like shop fitting, training.
Yeah.
It all depends on the franchise that you go into.
And then typically, going forward, what does the franchisee have to pay the franchisor?
Okay, so that depends again on the franchise network. Could be anything from a couple of percent up to about 30%. In fact, I've seen one much higher than that. And it depends on how much franchisor does for the franchisee.
Yeah.
So a good example is Dino Rod.
Yeah.
So you've probably seen the Orange fans go around.
Yeah.
They used to have a model that had two very different franchise fees.
Yeah.
8% and then it was in the 20s, I believe. One of the models, the 8%, was you get on and do it and you just use our branding, use our vans and use our centralised network. The higher end, we do your bookkeeping, we book in your customers, we send them the invoices. It's all managed, you just go out, sell and do.
Yeah.
Okay. So generally franchises are split between a business where you do everything yourself or a business where you are almost a distributor.
Yeah. So that's that. I've got my views on why franchises don't work and what makes a really good franchise. So I always say to people, not that I've done it, but I've studied it and thinking about doing it in the future for us, that when you own brand and land, and when I say serious brands, so McDonald's would be a serious brand, and in most cases they also own the land. So when you're the franchisee, you do as you're told, and you stick to brand standards. It's very hard to. I have to. People go, I've got a fantastic brand. They've been around 5 years. A fantastic brand to me is Starbucks, Costa, Disney, McDonald's, those sort of Apple. Like a real, the brand is hugely valuable, and you need that brand, and that brand massively does help you sell. So most people don't have a great brand. There's probably 500,000 brilliant brands in the world that would definitely, as soon as you open the doors, they are customers. So the other way of doing it is owning the land. And do you know anyone that does that successfully other than McDonald's?
Not really, no. So McDonald's is a property business, as you know, rather than a franchise business.
But they do have both, really, don't they?
They do. Look, McDonald's is a tremendous business. When you speak to anybody who's worked within the McDonald's model, whether franchisor or franchisee, you get a lesson of some sort. You learn something from them because the way they monitor and manage everything is unreal. Look, I think that the problem that I think you've said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the risk for most businesses is brand dilution and franchisee almost thinking that
why do I need them?
I know best. I can do it myself.
So I used to have an agency, an entertainment agency, and it worked like a franchise in effect. We filled their diaries up. We gave them the brand. Then after a few years, they go, well, we don't need you. So we didn't own the land that they operated on.
And the reason why that can become a common problem is when you haven't got that hook. You haven't got that thing that compels the franchisees to be part of you. And sometimes it can be the smallest of businesses that find that hook. So you don't need to be a McDonald's, and you don't need to have the funding levels of the likes of Domino's Pizzas or whatever to generate that hook. So Domino's, their hook is their sheer power of marketing, I believe. The fact that they're able to do the rapper advertising on The Simpsons. And is it Britain's Got Talent or X? I can't remember which one, but they were everywhere. And it was really compelling as a franchisee to be part of that.
But Domino's is one of those brands that...
Now. But it's only been in the last, 10, 20 years. The hook for a business could be as simple as product. It could be that you've got a very unique product that the franchisee uses. Look, I had a chip in my bath and I needed to have it fixed, so a ceramic bath, and there was a franchise called Magic Man, and they've got a technique of coming out and doing what chips away do to cars, but to baths. Okay, I've got no idea who could do that apart from them. They just had that IP within their franchise network. So they had the kit, they were able to do it, cost a couple of £100, and the bath was as good as new. Okay, so there needs to be some kind of hook, whether it's technological, whether it's cultural, whatever it is, you need something where the franchisees can't do it themselves.
So that's my brand and land theory on that.
So I guess that hook is the land.
But if I was thinking, if I franchised out my sites, I'll keep the lease and or the freeholds that we own.
Yeah.
So that the brand builds, it takes years to build a really good.
Yes.
You know.
But the hooks that you're giving, James, is your personal brand.
Yeah.
Your books.
Yeah.
It's your content for any entertainment that you do as well.
Yeah.
It could be product sales. And it's part of buying into a bigger thing. So if you look at Stagecoach Theatre Arts or Little Kickers or those tuition networks, you look at what they do. Actually, the tuition can be replicated by a teacher going elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it's the credibility, it's the longevity, it's everything that's gone with the fact that they've been going for 10 years.
But that's the power of the brand,
yes.
isn't it? Yeah. So
but you can't franchise to build a brand. You have to build a brand to then franchise.
Yeah, got it. So what do business owners need to do if they go, we want to franchise our business? What's the steps that they take?
Okay, so for me, the first port of call should be the British Franchise Association. However, vested interest, I'm a director for BFA.
Yeah.
So, I need to make that clear. But I genuinely believe that the BFA gives the best pointers towards what a franchise is and how it looks.
Yeah.
So they need to understand what franchising is. They need to understand that it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah.
So most franchise businesses have the same struggles. I mentioned earlier about the financial investment.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses think that they're going to franchise.
Yeah.
They put aside some money. They've got 20, 30 grand. They think, that'll be more than enough. But you pay your solicitor £4,000 for a franchise agreement, you pay someone to build your operations manual, you pay someone to do the prospectus, you do all of that stuff, and all of a sudden you've run out of money.
Yeah.
Okay? It costs a lot more than you would ever imagine to franchise properly. I would say that it is between 25 to 100k that you need to budget in your mind to do it properly.
Yeah.
You then need to bear in mind that you need to run your own business as well as be the franchisor.
Yeah.
So you're taking on 2 jobs until you're at about 20 outlets. Yeah. And at that point, you can then you're then at a point where you can employ a team to manage it, and you can sell your business, and you're in a much nicer position.
Interesting. It's a fascinating model, but lots of people fail at it both ways.
They do.
Franchisor and franchisee.
So the biggest reason that franchisees fail, in my opinion, I'm actually going to give a few of them. The first one is a lack of due diligence.
Yeah.
They don't kick the tyres of a
franchisee. Franchisee.
Yes, so they don't kick the tyres of a franchisor. They don't.
And that's definitely both. Well, that was what I was going to say. Both ways as well.
Oh, completely. Yeah. So we'll come on to the franchisor failure next.
Yeah.
But franchisees, because everybody knows somebody who's invested in something called a franchise, whether it's good or bad, and it's failed. Everyone knows someone who's done that. They've either bought a crap franchise or they are a crap franchisee.
Yeah.
Okay. So they haven't done their due diligence. They haven't spoken to existing franchisees and just asked the simple question, would you do this again?
Yeah.
They haven't checked the financials of a franchisor to make sure the business is as strong as they say it is.
Yeah.
All of that stuff that you and I would do with any trading partner,
yeah.
But somebody who's perhaps been seduced by a sales pitch won't necessarily do. Okay. The next reason why franchisees fail is because it takes a unique type of person to be a franchisee.
Yeah.
You would be the world's worst franchisee.
Yeah, I would. 100%
Okay.
I would.
Because you would notice a trend. You'd have your McDonald's and you notice there's lots of workmen coming in, so you'd sell them spanners.
Yeah.
Okay, and it would just go against the proven model that works.
Yeah.
But you would want to test what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's really. I mean, I totally agree.
So you wouldn't be a good franchisee. I know I wouldn't be a good franchisee. On the flip side, an employee wouldn't be a good franchisee because they're used to turning up at 9 o'clock and being handed work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and franchisees. In some respects, quite rightly expect that they paid 30 grand, come on, give me some work to do.
Yeah.
So you need to be kind of halfway between the employee mindset and the entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
It's almost, I don't want to say intrapreneurial, because they don't want you to challenge too much. You've got to be motivated, but you've also got to be happy to work within a system. A very good manager, very good salesperson, but happy to work with processes.
So it's interesting. So I'm going to throw something at you. McDonald's get 250,000, or is it 50,000 applicants a year for a franchise in the UK, and 8 get chosen.
At best, I know that it's less than 8 this year.
Right. So I mean,
yes.
So I was just fascinated, and I also found out that McDonald's like to choose a lot of ex-military people.
Yes.
High-level military.
Oh, absolutely. They follow the system. They have a perfect personality profile. Look.
Yeah.
Do you know disc profiling?
Yeah.
So you're probably high D, high I like me.
So what I've done, we done a video about this just recently. So Myers-Briggs, yeah.
Okay, it's similar, yeah. ENFP?
I can't remember. It was started with an E, definitely, but it came out saying I was, because there's 16 personalities, and I came out as an entrepreneur, which is. And Chudders, who makes our videos, he consistently didn't come out as a commander. So, yeah, but I mean, I think it's a fascinating thing to find, and McDonald's do a lot of that, do they?
Yes, they do. So, in fact, all franchisors, I believe, should be doing personality profiling. You can't just rely on personality profiling. It also comes down to your recruitment process.
Yeah.
And there's a fine balance as a franchisor between recruitment and sales. So when does recruitment kick in? When does the sales kick in?
So just quickly go back to that personality profiling, because I discussed it with some of my senior team about when we take on, we employ 400 people, and I want us to get better and better at choosing people. And I've always said, look, we've got to hire slow and fire fast.
Yes.
That's always been our mantra. And you believe then personality testing massively make a difference to recruitment?
I think it's important to make sure that you've got the right bums on the right seat, so you're not being...
But it can't go wrong.
It can go wrong.
Right.
It goes wrong when you rely on it solely.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, how I recruit, I look at... I know we're going off the topic of franchising here.
Yeah.
But this was something...
Really, because we're looking for the best partners, aren't we?
True. I look at three things when I'm recruiting.
Yeah.
And the most important is, will they do the job?
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, will they fit in the team?
Yeah.
And then finally, and least important, can they do the job?
Yeah.
Because skills can be taught, but you can't teach someone a personality.
No, attitude over skill set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we tend to hire on skills and fire on attitude.
See, when you look at so I've watched the founder going about McDonald's. But people think franchise. The next thing they say is McDonald's.
Yes.
They're the most famous franchise business in the world. And you watched the founder, have you?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Fabulous founder. So I mean, anyone that wants to know about franchise, I know it's.
But it's just good fun. It's a good fun film, isn't it?
It does make you realise a lot of things about the franchise model. And when I watched that, I realised that in the early days of McDonald's, it wasn't easy.
No.
And I've read the book. It took a lot of time. Now McDonald's are in a position where say, well, if you want a franchise, I think you have to go and work for them for 9 months.
You do,
unpaid or whatever, and manage a site. I mean, that is how they find it.
So McDonald's are... I don't want to focus too much on McDonald's because they're a unique example in franchising, both in the UK and internationally. But McDonald's are very much recruitment, and there's no sales in that process whatsoever.
But they are super fussy about who they choose.
Absolutely. But then, if somebody is starting a franchise, they might be more inclined to sell their franchise because they want to get number 1 or number 2 on the books.
Yeah.
And it's justifiable because they might have paid for the agreement, they might have paid for exhibition space. Yeah. And let's be honest, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They want to see some future return from it. And where things go wrong is where they give away too much. I'll tell you what, this is what my territory mapping company said you can have, but actually you can have that. They give you more space, and they say, oh yeah, that 15%, let's change it to 10% for you, but don't tell anyone. All of these deals are done, and they're trying to push it over the line, and they're blinded to the fact that the potential franchisee might not be the perfect franchisee. And some of the best businesses have done this. Body Shop, they franchised into Edinburgh. They had to buy that franchise back so they could carve it up into 8 locations and resell them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so some of the biggest businesses that we've seen, they've made mistakes too.
See, when I look at McDonald's, I work harder and harder at proving the model and finding out what works. So one of the top tips would be for anyone watching this: if you're thinking about franchise, take your time on the people you sell to.
Yeah, take your time, recruit rather than sell. Make sure that you take good advice, and I would start with the BFA on that. They've launched the franchise gym recently, which is to really help people at the very early stages form their thinking. The problem is, if you approach a franchise consultant, they're going to sell you franchising services. They're going to help you franchise your business. That might not necessarily be the right route for you. So you need to make sure that, I advise you do use them, but you make sure that franchising is right for you first.
So let me ask you, what's your views on companies? Talking about McDonald's, I know they do it, and I don't want to keep talking about McDonald's, but where you got management that have worked for your business for a number of times. Instead, you don't want to go down the management buyout route, and you say, right, you can now franchise this part of the business.
Conversion franchises work really well. Thornton's, I believe it was, had an uplift of 10% in their franchise stores that they converted. The likes of EE and Vodafone are going through that process with their stores. It works really well because
So how do EE and Vodafone do that? Well, so they say to the store manager, this is now
a franchise, yeah, and you buy it and we'll help you fund it, etc., etc. What it does is it really increases the employee buy-in, because when you're a franchisee, you make sure the door's open at 5 to 9 and it doesn't shut until the last customer's out.
Yeah,
when you're a
I know.
manager, I'm getting my coffee first.
Yeah. That's just and
the
they're stricter on the costs as well.
They're stricter on the costs, and the reality is that for a retail business, I heard this from a guy who was involved in Clark Shoes, which also franchises part of it estate. The difference between a profitable store and a non-profitable store is one pair of shoes per day.
Wow,
that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And a franchisee is far more likely to wait until that final pair of shoes has been sold.
Absolutely. Well, this just gets me going. So when you think about the Vodafone or EE, give out the store, all of a sudden turning off the lights because you're paying the bill, becomes so much more important.
Massively, because you're bought into the ultimate success of that location. Look, Marston's have done it in the licence trade.
Yeah.
You know, just to make sure that it's as streamlined as possible by the manager stroke franchisee.
Yeah.
The reality is, James, when you walk down a street, the majority of places that you see do franchise in some way, shape or form. So we're on the Strand at the moment. I know if you go out that there will be restaurants that are franchised. Maybe not here, but certainly internationally.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously companies like even Coca-Cola, you know, I mean, you've got Coca-Cola Enterprises Limited, which is their UK arm, which is
so Coca-Cola's it's a bit different. That's a licence. And the difficulty with the UK for franchising is there's no legal definition of franchising.
Yeah.
So in the States, you have to register as a franchisor, you have to show your documents, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Here, James, I could decide today to become a franchisor and sell you a franchise. Okay, I can grab an A4 bit of paper, say, James, you'll pay me 10%, I will give you a manual, and we both sign it, and it's a legal contract. And if I write the word franchise at the top, it's a franchise agreement. So I could decide whether that's called franchise, license, because there's no legal definition of it.
So, yeah, because it's something I'm very interested in doing in our business. How easy is it to get warmly, you know, is there people, how many people a year are like inquiring about franchising?
Okay, so
franchisees.
So I had to do the detailed research on this for my book, because obviously the publisher wanted to know if there was a market for it. There's 44,000 franchisees in the UK.
So what does that mean?
So 44,000 people have bought a franchise.
Right, got it.
Okay.
Currently.
So
it's quite a small...
It's quite a small market. So there's 900
people.
brands, 44,000 have bought franchises.
Yeah. And this
in
could
the
be
market,
right up to the Vodafone, McDonald's...
Absolutely.
To the one-man, Magic Man...
Yes.
So, yeah.
The churn rate is about 3,000 to 5,000 per year.
And what does that mean in this?
So that's new people coming in, people leave. It's the...
People retiring in the 44,000 being replaced. Yeah.
Yes. So that could be franchise resales, that could be new starts, but that's the kinds of numbers we're talking.
So it's only 3,000 to 4,000 people a year
who actually invest.
Wow.
Now there's a couple of reasons for that.
Yeah.
So the first one is that culturally franchising from a franchisee perspective isn't as accepted in the UK as it is internationally. So in the US, it's almost a badge of pride that you bought a franchise.
Yeah.
In the UK, there is unfortunately still a negative perception that you couldn't do it yourself, so you bought a franchise.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And it's something we do need to overcome, because actually, I can tell you franchisees who are more successful than two of us combined.
Yeah,
you know.
When I met, it's funny. I think there's an ethnicity thing to this as well, because I spoke to an FD about 7 years ago, and he was a FD for a bloke that owned 15 Domino's stores in the UK.
Yes.
An Asian guy, and he made £40,000 per store. But times that up by 15.
Absolutely.
Quite a nice little business.
Yes.
You know?
But there's a rise of what we call super franchisees, and these are high net worth families now.
Yeah.
And they just pick and choose brands like we might pick and choose products from the brands.
Yeah.
So look, I know a family who own, I'm going off the top of my head now, but 12 Anytime Fitnesses, 15 Starbucks. They own a good chunk of Burger Kings over the region. and they just invest in different businesses, and you get this interesting situation where franchisee is actually bigger than any of the franchisor head offices that they work with.
Wow.
Okay, and then take that a step further. When brands franchise to Dubai, for example, there's only 6 families that buy franchises. But they buy every brand. They buy Louis Vuitton, they buy Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana and so on to put in their shopping centres.
So, because I know some franchisors won't let you cross-franchise. So you couldn't own, I mean, obviously you could with the examples you go there, but you couldn't own Starbucks and McDonald's, for example, could you?
So, I don't know the ins and outs of their agreements. There would almost certainly be non-compete clauses in some respects.
Yeah.
However, there certainly are a number of multi-brand owners, and they get to the point where they do hold a position of power with the franchisor as well.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. So, have you franchised any of your businesses? Or what made you so interested?
No, we haven't.
In this,
so look,
this world?
I started in franchising. I fell into it. It's like most things you fall into. So I started when I joined D&T. So I joined as an employee. When I joined, we had about 20 to 30 martial arts schools. Okay, I built that up to 200. So there's a market in the country of 600. I decided that actually, I quite like these guys. I'll get on with them. Let's go out, meet a few of them, get them on board as clients. So in a couple of years, we built that up massively. A couple of them wanted to franchise. So I decided to attend a franchise expo with one of them, and I just saw a gap in the market for us, and I just kept turning up.
Interesting. So do you think, I'm fascinated by the fact there's only 44,000 current franchisees in the country.
But there's a reason, because most franchisors only market to people who are looking for franchisees.
Yeah.
So there's a big community of people who could become franchisees, but most franchisors aren't addressing them properly.
And of those 44,000, could that be, does that account for one person that has 10 Domino's stores? Or do you not know the answer?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd need to check, because those stats are from the BFA surveys, so I'd need to check how the stats are made up.
It's just to think that only 3,000 or 4,000 people invest, and you think how many businesses start up in the UK each year. It's a real small.
Yeah, so the business startup numbers are obviously confused by the likes of Uber and so on. So Uber call themselves a franchise.
Right, do they?
Okay, so that could add at least 20,000 onto the franchising numbers.
Yeah, of course.
However, when I'm quoting the franchising numbers, I'm quoting the numbers of business format franchises recognised. Not necessarily members of, but recognised by the BFA as being credible business format franchises.
I could just talk about this. So your book, which is called On the
Franchising Handbook. So Franchising Handbook was my mission was that I didn't want to see anyone fail through purchasing a franchise.
Yeah. So it's more aimed for the franchisee.
Oh, it's absolutely aimed at a franchisee. There are sharks out there who will call themselves a franchise and will take your money, thank you very much, and clear off. A good example was the fish spas. Do you remember where you sort of go in, you take shoes off, put your feet in?
Where did they go?
Exactly. So they sold 12 franchises at a franchise show that I was at, 40 grand a pop, and then they cleared off after a year.
And they didn't give it. So a good franchisor should really be like a business coach and really see the success.
It should be a part. It can't legally be called a partnership, but it should be a partnership. So the book itself is designed to tell potential franchisees what to look out for, what not to. But more powerfully, I can talk about the theory of it.
Yeah.
But I spoke to franchisors, franchise recruitment managers, bankers, everyone in the sector to contribute. Yeah. Based on what they would want to say to a franchisee if they weren't selling to them.
Okay.
And it allowed for some really honest feedback of what franchisees should be doing if they weren't sat across the table from them trying to recruit.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. If I'm a franchisee, what's the 3 things that I should look for in the quality of a franchise partner to choose?
Okay, so...
Although they're not a partner, but...
No.
A partner, yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I would say is the quality of feedback from other franchisees.
Brilliant.
So you need to ask for a full list of franchisees.
Yeah.
You don't just take the one that franchisor's given you. You want a full list, and you want to speak to them. A good franchisor might let you go out and be on the job for the day with them.
Yeah.
To really get to know them and kick the other franchisees' tyres. One thing that I'd look for is a professionally set up franchise. So,
explain.
Okay, so I'd be looking at the quality of the legal agreement.
Yeah.
Has it been produced by a BFA accredited and trained solicitor, or has it been produced by, I don't know, a solicitor who specialises in house moves or divorces?
Brilliant.
Is it by have they invested in their network? Because if they've tried to save £1,000 on the formation of the agreement, they've tried to save £1,000 elsewhere. Okay, so you want to check that they've trademarked their brand so that other people can't set up with the same brand.
Yeah.
You want to check they've got a proper operations manual, all of that stuff that you would get from McDonald's. And it might not be to McDonald's level, but you want to make sure that they've done their homework and done it properly.
And the third thing?
The third one is that you need to make sure that you like the franchisor.
Okay.
It's really simple, but let's just be blunt about it. Franchise agreements can last longer than marriages. So, don't they? So, you're signing in for 5 years once renewable.
Yeah.
And then you'll probably want to renew at the end of 10 years.
Yeah,
but you've got to like the people, you've got to like the culture. If you don't, then there's no point signing up. If you don't like the job, if there's a franchise chimney sweep operation, it's actually a good network. But if you don't want to be involved in chimney sweeping, don't buy a chimney sweep franchise.
Okay, and then, just so this is one of my... Because people are going, well, I don't want to pay 5, 6, 7, 10, 30% of my turnover over as... what's the... Is there a sweet spot or is it a case-by-case basis?
So it's case-by-case. It depends on the industry. It depends if they're making a turn on other things as well. So they could be making money on product sales. They could be making money through marketing levies, etc., etc. But when you combine it all together, you need to look at, am I in a more powerful position by paying that money? Like any business cost. And it's undoubtable, I believe, that being a McDonald's franchisee or Costa Coffee or Starbucks or any of the other big high street brands, it's absolutely undoubtable that if you open up as a franchise brand rather than as an independent, the balance of probabilities that you'll be more successful as a known brand, unless you've got some magic to create a real unique independent. Lower down the food chain, yes, it's a bit more difficult to see the brand power, but you need to look at the system, and will following that proven system save me the mistakes that will cost me that money.
Yeah, because there's little things that I mean, the power of a good IT system, no one understands. I mean, you can spend millions on developing that and getting that to work, and you might not realise just how much time and effort has gone into
And the
that.
thing is, with a franchisor, you're paying for a big brother to help you out. That's how you need to think of it.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, I don't know if you want to name this, but I'd like you to if you could.
Yeah, sure.
What's the and you're not allowed to say McDonald's. What's the 5, would you say, best franchise partners in this country at the moment?
So that's really difficult for me to answer, being a director of a trade body, obviously.
Yeah, I thought you said that.
So it's a massive conflict for me to name names.
Can you say any good ones?
Look, I can tell you sectors that I think are doing well.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I know that's kind of escaping the direct answer, but I don't actually think legally I'll be allowed to name names. Look, the domiciliary care sector is doing phenomenally well at the moment.
What? The who? What?
Domiciliary care, so at-home care for the elderly.
So that's franchised?
That's franchised. Most of them are franchised.
Oh, wow.
So most of the names you'd know of are franchised. There's obviously government contracts, there's privately funded contracts. It's great place to be.
The franchisor sorts all that out and just divvies the work up. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they centralise it. They make the arrangements. They built the system, the CQC controls.
So that's really hard work to build all that stuff, isn't it?
So that's their hook.
Yeah.
Other sectors that do really quite well. I mean, at the moment we're seeing lots of gyms.
Yeah.
However, I'm not entirely sure that the market can take too many more gyms.
So how does that? So they just pay a straight cut of the turnover.
Yes.
And what does the?
But the gym will give access to expertise on planning. Yeah. Because you know what planning's like in your business. So you're D1, I presume?
D2.
D2. Yeah,
so
D2 groups.
D1 is care, like nurseries, care homes.
So you're D2.
Yeah.
It's very similar for gyms. They need to be in that, and you know how long it takes to get planning.
Yeah. So
if your gyms have got centralised departments to do that, they've got access to lease the equipment. There's a lot of value add that they can offer.
So what happens, because this is the problem that I have, after 6 months they go, right, head office has got us open, they've got us all of our equipment, they've told us where to put this and that. How do
they centrally promote?
And that's good.
Yes, so
they're doing your
Facebook marketing, etc., centralised by postcode allocated out.
So really, in that situation, the franchisee just needs to run.
They manage the team. They make sure the equipment's up to scratch and they're meeting brand standards.
And they're firing leads into the franchisee.
A good franchisee would be doing it themselves as well.
Yeah.
But they should be firing some leads.
Because I think that, there is a, franchisee just, I've paid this money, you're going to find me the customers. Whereas a good partnership is we're doing both.
So another successful type of franchise business would be swimming schools.
Yeah.
They seem to be doing phenomenally well.
Yeah. There's good margins in them as well.
So they've gone away from just swimming, and it's all about the photography and the equipment, and they're pioneering their business models and then passing it down to the franchisees.
Yeah.
Same as the other wider tuition industry. Again, a lot of these markets are becoming more and more saturated, but the good franchisors are pioneering the commercial opportunities, testing and then delivering for franchisees.
Just quickly, on the gym front, what would someone look to buy in for a franchisee of a gym, or franchise for a gym?
In terms of pricing?
Yeah, the upfront cost.
So the upfront cost, obviously, I'm going to exclude the fit out and so on,
right.
Because that really depends on the size of the premises.
Yeah.
But the license fee is normally around 20k.
Plus, and then
you've got your fit out costs.
$500,000.
Yeah, you've got your fit out costs. You've got your equipment if you purchase rather than lease.
Yeah.
There's so many variables of what you can do around it.
Yeah.
That actually you've got the relatively small cost of the license plus the training and so on. The majority of it is actually based on where your location is and how big you want.
And the swimming school, same sort of buying license.
Swimming schools. So the swimming school world is changing because the licenses, it'd be roughly around the same, if not a little bit lower. However, the problem with swimming schools is finding the available pools.
Yeah. Because
there are quite a few schools, but now some are opening actual full-time pools.
Yeah, I know, and I've coached a lady that's doing very well on that.
Yeah.
So with that licensing fee, technically, is the franchisor trying to look to make a profit out of that?
No.
It should be a break-even cost.
It should be a break-even cost. Now, the reality is that franchisor provides some of the services.
Yeah.
So training, for example, they might charge £1,000 a day.
Yeah.
Which actually it could be justified. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
But there will be a profit element because they won't be paying the member of staff £1,000.
Yeah.
But on the whole, it should be break-even.
Okay. So the franchisor makes its profit from the
absolute. A good franchisor makes its money from the royalty and reinvests in recruitment and training, etc., in the upfront cost.
Yeah, gotcha. And so we spoke a lot about the franchisee. If there's people listening to this thinking, I want to franchise my business, the best thing for them to go to is the BFA.
BFA, they can speak to us. We would always give free of charge advice on where to go, what to do.
Yeah.
In terms of what they do after that, they will have a number of needs. They'll need a franchise lawyer.
Yeah.
They will need a operations manual.
Yeah.
They will need some support in getting known by the banks, because the banks would typically lend up to 70% of the initial cost rather than 50-50. So they'd need introductions there, and then they just need to make sure that the franchise stacks up for them.
Because just talking about banks, banks they much prefer franchise than startups, don't they?
Good franchises, yes.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, though. Banks do prefer franchises. However, when the franchise isn't performing, they will tar the whole network with the same brush. So the reason why they improve their lending criteria on franchises is because they've got evidence that it's a proven system.
Yeah, of course.
If that system ain't working, they're not going to fund it.
But so you would to protect the franchisor so that the whole thing doesn't fall down. You need to have something in the contract that if the franchisee isn't performing, you can bring it back.
Absolutely. So you have minimum performance criteria, because also it's a wasted territory for you.
Yeah.
Look, if you franchised out Party Man and you mapped out that I could have 100 of these centres, and you had a centre that just wasn't hitting the numbers, and you're on a percentage basis, then actually you're not hitting your numbers.
Yeah.
So you need to have a minimum performance to make sure that they're not squatting on a territory.
Yeah. So one of my ideas, the way I've built up to 11 different locations now, my idea is to always set up our locations ourselves, get them trading for a couple of years, and then sell them on to
Sure.
a franchise partner. Do you think that's a good idea? Should people do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it requires more capital and time to build it that way.
For the franchisor?
For the franchisor. However, franchisee is de-risked in the process because they know what they're getting, so it can be valued, and you can make a real commercial arrangement between you. But they start making money from day one.
Again, I found out that's what McDonald's do.
I need to caveat that I've invested in a franchise brokerage, so I've got a vested interest to encourage franchise resales. But certainly that's a good way of getting new franchisees in and also capturing some asset value for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then there's a whole other world of international franchising.
Yeah. Well, Carl, I mean, that was a great chat and something that actually we've never done on any of our content before. So I think there's going to be some real valuable listens and watches, whatever way you're doing it. Carl, people want to find more out about your book. Where can they get it? Amazon?
Okay, so the easiest first step, look, I chuck out loads of free content, so just search for me on social media, Carl Reader, @CarlReader. You'll find me on there, you'll see the content. If you like what you're seeing, then yes, the book's at Amazon, Waterstones, all of the usual places.
Brilliant. It's been a fantastic chat. I'm James Sinclair, that's been Carl Reader. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon. Bye.